It's the Kink Consultant Podcast, where we're turning up the heat on all things kink and dating, relationships, and pop culture. So close the door, plug in your headphones, and let's get down to it. Hey, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Kink Consultant Podcast. I am delighted to be joined by a hypnotherapist. In fact, my most recent hypnotherapist, Jordan Wolan, a certified hypnotherapist and integrative hypnotherapist. Welcome, Jordan.
Thanks, Amanda. I'm so glad to be here.
I'm super glad to have you here because I love to give a little introduction of how I found the people I bring onto the podcast. Jordan and I were both presenters at the Dom Sub Living Summit, where Jordan spoke about Hypnokink, something that I'm extremely curious about and we're going to talk about in this episode. But I'm a huge fan of hypnotherapy in general and have used it multiple times in my life with great results, including a session that I had with you a few months ago. So I definitely want to get into that. But before we do, I'm going to call out the elephant in the room that I'm sure you're used to. Is hypnotherapy you with a stopwatch, waving it in front of people and getting them to do things that they don't want to do? Is that what hypnotherapy is?
Not exactly, although that's such a cliche that I have used that. And in fact, I used it like a few weeks ago, just as a joke. I have one, but that's not the way it works. Unless you're working with kids. That's fun then.
What is hypnotherapy?
What is hypnotherapy? So hypnotherapy is a very receptive state that we get into where we can focus on something that we want to change. So it's just a very natural state that we're in throughout the day. Many times during the day, we go into hypnosis just naturally. So some of those examples are when we're driving and we don't remember the trip, or we're watching a movie and we get absorbed in the movie, or we're scrolling on our phone for hours and 2 hours goes by and we're like, where did the time go? Those are all forms of environmental hypnosis that we go in and out of.
So how do you harness that? First of all, is there a way during scrolling that I can be changing my behavior while being in a hypnotized state of my daily drive or daily doom scrolling? Can we work with that?
Yeah, you absolutely can. I would say that you can do it different ways. You can set timers. You can just tell yourself, I'm going to do this for 15 minutes and then end it. Or you can just put the phone in another room. But when you're actually in that state, sometimes you might catch it. Sometimes you might think that just 5 minutes went by when actually it's half an hour and your partner is getting mad and waiting for you. And you're still scrolling and you're like, wait a minute, one more. It's really hard to once you're in that state. But by being more aware of it, you start to notice it so that you can prevent it.
Okay. I've used hypnotherapy for certain mindset shifts in my own confidence and things like that. Like I've been using hypnotherapy since I was probably 20 years old. I would find a hypnotherapist to help with a certain mind shift change. Do you think that this is like a normal use of it? Is that how you work with clients, or is there a specific thing you recommend it for?
So I work with clients with whatever they want to work on. I have no judgments. I've worked with a lot of different things, mostly issues around anxiety and stress, confidence, self-esteem, phobias, fears, anywhere from fear of flying to using pronouns, remembering people's pronouns. I've used it to help someone stop staring at chests, staring at people's chests and make eye contact. I've used it for all kinds of things. Germ phobia, hair pulling.
I'm like literally in shock.
Mind's blown, right?
Yeah, my mind is blown. I've never thought about any of these things. I think I'm fortunate enough that I've never had a problem staring at someone's body parts in general. So I've been like fortunate enough to not need that, but it's cool to think that that could be something. Since we are a kink podcast and we can talk about some of the more open things, does sexual anxiety ever come up as something you work with?
Yeah. I was going to say, I work with sexual freedom hypnosis. I was trained by my mentor named Kaz Riley from the UK. So in sexual freedom hypnosis, we work with sexual dysfunctions. So a lot of that is helping clients with shame around their sexuality and feeling more comfortable in their bodies and asking for what they want. We can also work with vaginismus and pain. We can work with ED. So there's a lot of ways to help with hypnosis specifically with that.
You just blew my mind for a second time in a very short period of time. Vaginismus is, I have a hard time actually describing it, but I know that it leads to women not being able to comfortably have sex because of whether it's a trauma response or a physical response, they are not comfortably able to have anything wide in their vagina. I don't even know how to put it because I know they go through dilation and stuff, and there's a lot of tension that comes up that also makes them uncomfortable. How are you able to help with that?
Yeah, so everything from helping my clients that have pain during sex, helping them relax the muscles, like learning how to be more comfortable, either practicing before they have intercourse and just by themselves, learning how to breathe properly and rewiring how the brain associates the pain, because sometimes it comes from an incident that happened before in their past, or maybe it's just a fear of something going to happen. So it's a lot of that is using visualization and different techniques that I'll use to help with relaxation in that area. So,
That makes a ton of sense. It sounds like a lot of different people are coming to you to work on different things. What do you think maybe the most popular thing a woman comes to work with you on?
so a woman would usually come to work, and I work with all genders, by the way. So every way you identify. When clients come to work on things with me, generally I've worked with many women with pain during intercourse and also shame, so sexual shame. And where that comes from is having an idea or belief that was misplaced that they took on. Someone else told them it was bad, it was shameful, it was a sin. This is the right way to do something. They have a lot of beliefs that someone else gave them. So a lot of things that we work on is letting go of the shame and then expressing their own sexuality, using their voice, feeling confident with their body. There's a lot of body image issues. For all genders, there's a lot of questioning whether this is normal or this fantasy is normal or it's taking too long or it's taking too short or this person is very concerned about just their partner's pleasure and not their own. So there's a lot of ways to work with it. And with a lot of men, sometimes men will have trouble finishing because they're in their heads or they get distracted or they can't get to that point because they're concerned with something their partner said. There's a lot of stress. All of these things can affect arousal and being able to feel like you're doing the right thing and having fun and all this pressure that we get from the media and society and friends and whoever. We think that
Yeah.
there's something wrong with us.
Okay. How do you determine, though, whether or not it's something that hypnotherapy can fix if it's not the root of the problem? For example, I talk to clients about getting enough sleep so they can have better sex, right? Is there a way that they can get around having less sleep and still having better sex? Or how do you determine that hypnotherapy is the right course of action for your client?
So they usually determine it for themselves. They
Okay.
come to me, they might have already been working with a sex therapist or a sex coach or a regular therapist, and they find that there's a level of either find that they're stuck, like they've been working on it with talk therapy for a certain amount of time and it's just nothing's working, or they might even feel like an embarrassment, like they can't even talk about sex with their therapist. So either way, they find me and I'm like the last resort, or I get referred by a therapist. And then hypnosis, I believe, can work with just about anything. So from there, there's a specific protocol that I'll follow when it comes to sexual dysfunction.
I love that, that there's a protocol,
Yeah.
but I totally understand what you're saying because a couple of things, I have sent people to you who I have felt could probably use hypnotherapy as a last resort for me. I'm like, we've gone through a lot here. They've talked to doctors. I'm like, have you considered hypnotherapy? So that tracks for sure. I did want to bring something up that I don't know if I've ever told you this, but when I was in my mid 20s, I have a fetish. Everyone who listens to the podcast knows I'm obsessed with being spanked. It's my fetish. I orgasm thinking about that all the time or being punished. And I wanted to not be that way in my 20s. And I sought out a hypnotherapist who told me she would not help me with it because she was like, I could do that, but all it would do is make your sex life less enjoyable as opposed to making this desire go away. I really have no question there. I'm just wondering, like, have you ever had anyone try and do that with you, get rid of their fetish or interest in kink?
So I would not go in that area. I would not do that. If someone's coming to me to get rid of a fetish, I would actually ask them, like, where's that coming from? And like, tell me about this fetish and what do you enjoy about it? And let's have you accept this even more and enjoy it even more. How about that? You know, as long as it's not hurting someone or yourself, there's no judgment here. And in fact, it's very harmful to suppress an interest. a fantasy. It's something that is like at the core of your desire.
Are you craving deeper intimacy and the freedom to explore your desires without shame? Do you feel nervous bringing kink up with your partner? Or maybe you're curious to start but don't know where to begin? That's exactly where coaching comes in, and I've helped countless couples and individuals navigate kink in their lives and relationships. Book your consult today at amandadames.com and let's make your desires feel doable.
I feel that it's core to who I am. I love that answer, to be honest. I'm like, I wish that that had happened in my 20s, but I was very glad that this person did not agree to help me with that. It was a very difficult time. I had a marriage failing, and I thought if I could just make this
Yes.
one problem go
Mm,
away,
mhm.
everything would be better. And
Right. But just think about that. If you had said, like, I want to get rid of this beautiful thing that I enjoy, what about some people feel embarrassed to share their kink with their partner? So that would be a very harmful suppression of that. But what if you were able to confidently share that interest? Then it could be a whole different thing, more accepting, more fulfilling for both of you.
I think I was a little too young back then, but you're right. It shaped my eventual acceptance of it through different ways of experiencing kink, brought me to who I am today as the kink consultant. So I'm very glad that it wasn't changed. I just always think back on that of being very desperate and knowing the power of hypnotherapy versus other things I've tried. And I've done therapy, and therapy has its place. I've done coaching, coaching has a place, but like I can't deny what sometimes feels like magic after hypnotherapy. Have you had the same experiences? Like, how did you even get into hypnotherapy?
Yeah, every day I'm always saying, "What is this? What did I just do?" I'm getting called a witch, a sorcerer, all kinds of things. People are really surprised because we can do amazing things because we're working with the subconscious mind. And that's so much powerful than our critical mind, our logical mind. That's like about 5% of our mind is like the part that's analytical and logical and, wants to change things. But the whole who we are, like all our beliefs, all our behaviors and emotions, all of that, our perceptions, that's connected to the subconscious mind. When we tap into that, that's how the change happens really quickly. And sometimes it takes one session, sometimes it takes a few. So generally I work with people for about 4 sessions, and then as needed, it's usually that quick.
Right?
Terrible business model, right?
No, I know. I was thinking that too. I was
All
like,
right, you're done. You're fixed.
yeah,
No, I've been told
luckily,
that, but
yeah. Once you figure out it works, if you're like me, you keep coming back to different
yes,
things.
yes, that's me
So
as well
you're
with
based
my
in
mentor.
LA, but we did a
Mhm.
virtual session. How much of your
Mm.
business is like in person versus virtual?
Yeah, well, I'm lucky to have this beautiful office in Los Feliz in Los Angeles, but I would say about 50% is online. So I've worked with people in Germany, I've worked with people in the UK, I've worked with people in New York City, all over the country. So I'm not limited by state, so I can work anywhere, anytime through Zoom. Sitting in your car, wherever you are, it works. I just have to
Okay.
be able to see you and hear you.
I've only ever until our session, I had only ever done in person. And it was really just a thing of I couldn't make it over to LA. I would have loved to have seen you in person. I'm just going to call out what everyone is probably thinking and I thought before. How could this possibly work just as well over Zoom or like online as it does in
Yeah.
person sitting in the same room?
Well, they're two very different feelings. So I would say that even right now, screens are very hypnotic. So just the fact that we're looking at each other through Zoom, you're already in a trance. To me, I'm the speaker, you're focused on me. So you're already in that trance. And I can be checking in with you, watching your reactions, the movements that you're making, watching your breathing, guiding you into a state without even being there.
I feel so on
So
edge
do you feel
as
it?
you I'm like, "Oh, shit." I feel so
It's
seen,
happening
but,
now.
like yeah, I was just like, "Oh my god, she sees everything right now." Yeah, it kind of actually is happening just as you, like, described it. I
Yeah.
feel a little tingly because I feel like I'm in the hot seat a little bit in the
Right.
way you described
Right.
it.
Sure. And if you were here in the office, then you'd be sitting on a couch. It's like a typical therapy office, but I might have you sit in the recliner. I might have you lie on the couch, or if you wanted to be seated, it doesn't really matter because it takes a lot of trust to allow yourself to be hypnotized. There's a lot of stigma about it still, and stigma even in this field. You have double stigma. You've got the kink stuff, you've got the hypnosis stuff. Sometimes people get afraid. So it's very important. Some people want to meet with me in person first so they can get to know that I'm a real person and feel the energy. So that's what I would say is different.
Yeah. Okay.
And traffic, LA traffic, no one wants to drive it.
I know, and I can hear it a little bit in the background, which is fine. That is
Yeah.
LA in general and New York.
Mm.
If you're recording in these places, you're hearing some background noise. Okay, we talked about this a little bit, but I do want to dive deeper into it. For clients who come to you, and we kind of did a session around this, who say, I want better sex. That's a big ask, it's a big topic. What's your process for figuring out how you're going to run a session when that is what they're asking for?
Great question. Usually I know ahead of time. They might say, I just want to have better sex. So I will ask a lot of questions. I ask very specific questions because I want to find out, what does that look like to you? What does better sex look like? What's it going to feel like, sound like? And I want to know what you're doing now. And I want to know all the background about that so that we can change it. And I'll literally ask you, what do you want to change today? And we'll start from there and we'll drill down because people come in with a very big idea of what they want to change. Better sex, whatever that means. So I want to find out, how specifically do you want it to be?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because, like, my immediate answer is I want to orgasm every single time I have sex. Or I think more specifically for me, it would be like, I want to feel more comfortable having sex in different positions. Because as much as I enjoy sex, I'm a creature of habit. I like the same thing and I'm happiest in my routine, but I want to branch out. And if I'm struggling with that, and to me, better sex would be being more comfortable in other positions, not physically, I think as a whole.
So that's a beautiful question. So if you're very comfortable having sex one way and it's like you do it like this all the time, on your back, underneath, whatever, and you want to try something, let your
Bent over the
imagination
bed.
imagine that. That's
Bent
over the
over the
bed.
bed.
Okay, that's over here. We can literally rewire. So my brain goes, how do we get this thing over here to look like this? We rewire that. We find out, what is it about this thing that you do that you love? And we just copy and paste the equivalent of that. We change the wiring of how the neurons store that in your brain. Like, what is great about this thing over here? And we transfer it over here.
This is fascinating. I'm literally like,
Yeah.
this could have a lot of different things. Even just could mean that instead of masturbating the same way all the time, I could get more adventurous in how I masturbate and masturbate in the shower, or something that is not just in my bed, which is what you're describing. It's a retained memory of, I got into a habit of it, and it's taken away some of the adventure because over time I think I built up, this is the only way it happens. And I stuck to that. Do you think, if I was very passionate about changing that, is that something we could work on with hypnotherapy?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. It could be done conversationally. It could be done. There's a technique from NLP, which is mapping across. It's working with submodalities, which is how you store that representation of that thing that you're doing, that position, what it looks like, sounds like, smells like, tastes, all of the senses. We just take those, we borrow from one and map it across to the other, to the new way that you want to be, the present state to the desired state.
So am I in that, do you call it a hypnotized state, a trance state? What is it called when you're in that place where you're leading a hypnotherapy session? Am I hypnotized?
Great question. I love that. So you're in a trance state, which is just a very focused state. You might be focused on the image. I might ask you to imagine, the last time that you were having sex in the position that you love.
Yeah.
And what were you seeing? What were you hearing? Are there any feelings that are important there? What happened right before it? I'm finding out all of these ways that you store that representation of that act. And then I'm finding out, I'm going to do something to change the state. But you're in the state of hypnosis. The whole session is hypnosis. But conversationally, I can ask you, what other position do you want to be in? Now take how you're feeling and now see yourself doing that new position and feeling the way you want to feel. Beautiful, dominant, submissive, however it is. I can take pieces of that thing that you're already doing and just bring it across to the new act, the new position.
Okay.
Over the headboard. What do you want? Over the bed. Bent over the bed. Okay.
This is like my funny shame share, is that, like, as adventurous as I am in some ways, and I'm the kink consultant, I talk about all of this stuff online, I'm fairly routine. I like what I like, but I want to branch out. It's just physically, it doesn't happen for me in the same way. And then you get a new partner and you're trying new things and you want to both enjoy it. And that's something I'm like, I love that there are other options. It's not just even coaching. There are other modalities you can lean on to help expand your horizons.
What you're describing is called erotic plasticity. Our sexuality can change over time and through experiences and through like personal development. And hypnosis is definitely like perfect for that kind of thing because it
Okay.
happens so fast and so much more easily than trying to willpower. It's going to happen a lot faster and more easily.
I've used hypnotherapy multiple times throughout my life to feel more confident about my own body. It is no secret to anyone who listens to me. I struggle a lot with my own body image and just really getting down on myself. I've never done hypnotherapy for weight loss or anything. I always use it to love myself more. And
Right.
sometimes between therapy and a lot of other work I do, including somatica and somatic work, hypnotherapy has been able to provide that subconscious hack. That's a terrible word, probably, but it helps me access love for myself so much more easily. I guess that's like an aside, but that's what I love about hypnotherapy in the way that it can bring more relaxation, understanding, calmness. And I don't know how it works. I just know it works.
Yeah, it's just amazing. That's why I do this work is because of how fun it is, how fast it is, and it's just so different. What I'm stepping into this year is just educating people more and sharing more so that they understand how powerful it is. Because I feel like so many people don't really understand what it is. There's more fear about it. They've seen so many movies or a stage show, and it's just this strange thing where people feel like they're going to be out of control. So I'm here to show you that it's actually giving you back more control. It's the way of the future. Yeah.
I think it's been around for so long, though. Do you
Yeah.
see a
Yeah.
movement towards people accepting it more?
Yeah, I think because of everything now, there's so much information out there on the internet, and it's come a long way from like even 10 years ago, and everything is just moving at a fast pace. But I'm going to say that it's becoming even more important to know how to use this, to know how to tap into your subconscious, to work with a hypnotherapist because we have so many distractions all the time. Life is moving a lot faster. So I feel like this is just a way to make the process more rapid and more easeful than
Yeah.
trying to just struggle. So
I'm
did that
gonna
answer your
be
question?
It does answer my question. I'm gonna be a little woo-woo for a second because right
Mm.
now I think on Instagram, on social media in general, maybe it's just my algorithm, but I see a lot more about manifestation. I can't say I'm the world's biggest manifester. I believe positive thinking leads to positive things. So I think that some of that works, but even I struggle with thinking positively sometimes. And I'm wondering, is there any intersection? Is there any place where both manifestation and hypnotherapy can come together to unlock the mind and open up positive, expansive thinking?
I was also going to say that hypnosis is just another word for focused attention or meditation or like giving yourself affirmations. As long as you can focus on what you want, that's how you're mentally rehearsing, like what you're stepping into, who you're becoming, how you want things to go. Even before this podcast, I did an exercise where I saw myself successfully having a conversation with you, and the outcome was successful and fun, and that I would hit all the points that I wanted to say. And all of these things, I'm visualizing it first, and I'm trying to get myself in a state of feeling so I can feel that. It's not just I want to do a great job and have this great conversation. It's, I want it to feel authentic. I want it to be fun, share the passion that I feel for this
Yeah.
work, all of that to come through. So important here is to get into that feeling of what you want. So if you want to attract the right partner, if you want to attract money, whatever it is, you have to get into that frequency. So it is
Yeah.
a woo, if you call it woo, whatever, it's energy, it's frequency, it's that attraction that you're going to generate. It has to start inside you first, and then you'll attract more of that because
I
whatever you
believe that.
focus on, you create, right?
Whatever you
Hmm.
focus on, you create. I believe that completely. Everything you say sparks another question. So I'm like, okay, you did that. Does that mean you can hypnotize yourself?
Yeah, so everything is self hypnosis. So it's all consensual. It's a collaboration when I'm working with a client, when I'm working with anyone, including myself. I have an idea. I want to do something. For me, it's like, okay, this year I want to focus on sharing this with as many people as possible, doing groups, doing talks, doing podcasts. So I'm visualizing that constantly of how to get better. I'm also practicing, I'm recording, I'm doing all these things, but I'm visualizing the outcome that I want so that over time with repetition, it just becomes more natural. So I'm constantly using it to push my growth edges. So it's going to feel uncomfortable at first, but the more you do it, the more it feels more comfortable.
Is there anything I could take away in a short period of time on self hypnotizing to attract wealth or to feel more comfortable receiving money. Is there something that I could do every day as a practice that would be like self hypnotizing?
So bringing in money, I usually recommend a couple of books out there, first of all, but I'll give you a task to do outside because you want to start thinking about money as understanding the systems that we're in, of how to make money, and also knowing that whatever scarcity you feel, maybe there's a systemic reason for that. It's not you, it's the system that we're in. And starting with that baseline understanding of like, okay, the money that you want, you have to start to notice it in your life. You have to get control over it and do an audit of where you currently are. And then you want to start looking at money in a different way. Like maybe you notice that every time you see a penny on the ground, you stop. This is a small thing, but like you pick it up. Or
Yeah.
you say, thank you, I receive. Or every time you have an interaction where you pay for something, you say to yourself, more is coming. This is my life force. I'm lucky enough to be able to afford this. So I'm buying this and more is coming. It's just the more I put out, the more will return. Having an attitude like that instead of, oh, I can't afford that today, I'm going to not let myself have it. I can't afford that. Because the more you speak these words, that's what you're going to get. So you want to start to look for ways to see the abundance that you have. So feeling
Okay.
gratitude for what you have. Start there.
I did something like this last summer, then switching it into dating a little bit. Every time I saw an attractive man, I saw this online somewhere. I think a specific creator, oh man, I can't think of who it was. Please comment if this was you. Every time I saw an attractive man, I would say, thank you, universe. Send me another. Just to look at good looking people. And then I started noticing good looking people everywhere. And I was like, this is either working or I'm opening my eyes, one or the other. And it
Exactly.
helped.
You have your own good looking man now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because, yeah, it's what we focus on. That's what we tend to see more of because our brain is very efficient. So it starts to look for those things. So if you're looking at how shitty men are, then you see that reflected back. If you think of it as like, there are great guys out there, they're coming. I see there are great guys out there. You're looking for that. Or you're looking for a type of partner. The brain kind of deletes everything else. It focuses on that one thing. And I attracted my partner doing a vision board and a lot of journaling, writing. My partner is this. My partner has this. These are the qualities. This is what we like to do. So the more you can visualize it is what you're creating for yourself.
Can you tell me a little bit more
Hate that
about
word.
how you met your partner then? Like you did all of this, but how did you actually go about meeting your partner? It's a question I ask a lot of guests because we all want to know, how did you meet your person?
Oh, the secret that I have used, and this works for people, whether you're finding a partner or a job. Let's focus on partner. First, you start with your home, your space, your bedroom. Create a space for that person to fill, to come in with their possessions. It's kind of this like creating room for them to move in a way. It's a little bit of feng shui kind of ideas, but creating that space in your life for them and then starting to visualize writing it out with a pen and paper, what my partner looks like, what they do, how they act, characteristics that I want. Then the year that I met her, she was on my vision board. And it was very strange because the picture looked a lot like her
No
that I
way. I
clipped
just
out
got
of a magazine. And it was like, wait a minute, that looks so similar to like you in a bikini wearing sunglasses. So talk about like really visualizing what you want. And that year it was relationships. That was what I wanted. And sure enough, we met that year
I love
and
that.
I recognized her.
I need to do more vision boards is really what I'm taking away from this too. Because obviously I'm doing the hypnotherapy, but it's that daily practice or inserting it more often than just every time I have a session that I slack on or ignore a little bit.
Yeah. And it's just like I tell my clients, like if you were going to buy a new car and you decided what your car is, you start to notice that everyone's driving that car. So you start to see it everywhere. And that's what you'll attract because your brain is like primed for that to
That's
recognize
so
it.
funny. In the mix of like everything we've talked about, I drive a Mustang convertible. I love my Mustang convertible. So every time I see one, I'm like, that's my friend. That's my friend. And then I met my partner who also one of his vehicles is a Mustang convertible. And when I found that out, I was like, that's my friend. I feel like in merging all of it, I'm like, I want someone who appreciates a Mustang. And obviously he did. That's like a small story, but I think there's something to it of like how much I care about these things and then them being drawn in to my life. Another fun fact that I have about Jordan Wolan that when I met you when we were both speakers at the Dom Sub Summit, your partner was also a speaker. And when this clicked in with me, I was like, what? power couple. You are, I'm serious, dating Justine Cross, a pro
Yeah.
dominatrix in LA that I follow on social media and had been following when like we were all on the Dom Sub Summit together.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. When we walk in the room, people are like, what the hell? We are so different. We're two DOMs, but she does one type of transformation and I do a different type of transformation. So we're kind of healers, coaches, we're both offering people how to be more themselves in different
Yeah.
ways, helping, healing, teaching.
This is what I'm saying. Power couple, you're both holding space for people who want to change in some way. The way they walk in is not the way they walk out.
Right, right. They come in with an idea of what they want. They want to be more empowered. They want to have more fun, whatever it is they want. And we hold different spaces and people will cry sometimes from just being able to be themselves and be seen and they will change. We both can say we've changed people's lives like for the better in different ways, especially in the area of sexuality, which is so important. It's just a big part of our being a human, just different ways.
I'm sure hypnotherapy is a strong modality. I've been a pro dom. I've never actually seen a pro dom like that I've gone to a session with, but so I can only speak from experiencing hypnotherapy as opposed to experiencing visiting a pro dom, but both can be so transformational. Do your worlds ever collide? And I'm specifically asking about Hypnokink.
Great question. I knew you were going to ask that. I work in a clinical setting, so I
Right.
do not, when I'm working with clients, there are ethics, there is a very clear set of boundaries. So I'm just working on the personal develop self-improvement. And with erotic hypnosis or Hypnokink, I've taught workshops in that for entertainment purposes so people can learn how to do that safely. A lot of people are really curious about it. There is a hypnosis fetish. There's a way to learn that with your partner so that you can enhance your activities that you're doing. So I would rather teach people how to do that safely with consent and how to stay safe and protect themselves from bad people, from bad players who might misuse it so that they can be more empowered. So there is a little bit of crossover with Hypnokink.
1,000 different questions just came up, including, I guess we should start with what is Hypnokink?
Yeah, so Hypnokink is a form of hypnosis. They both have the same qualities, like being able to focus on something to create an altered state. And in the kink world, we're already in those altered states. So it's a natural way to kind of focus it, to do various things like enhancing sensations or going deeper into role play or creating different scenarios that are just using the power of the mind. So there's a lot of imagination, there's a lot of play. It's just using all the structure and the container of hypnosis to create these very specific, very negotiated outcomes that we want in the
That
area of play.
that makes a ton of sense. If I were to use Hypnokink, what I'd probably want is to just have that deeper feeling of submission and enjoyment that I already feel I hit quite naturally. Honestly, a hand on my neck, I've been known to go into subspace so quickly, and that's almost like hypnosis in itself, just that
Right.
touch.
Even just a touch can be what we call an anchor, which can create another state. And the more you do it, the more repetition, it just becomes the program that you run. You get wired to have that state. So the more you do it, the more intense, the better it gets.
If I wanted to find someone to play with Hypnokink with, do you have any suggestions of how to find someone I can trust?
So the best thing for that in the community to just see who's doing it, ask around and get a referral. Someone should introduce you. You should check them out. Don't just go with the first one that you meet. You want to really know that they know what they're doing, that they have training, that they're ethical. You want to be able to communicate with them in a deep level so that none of this just out of the blue random person. You really want to get to know them or know that someone has vetted them already to be
Okay.
safe.
Thank you for answering that. As you were answering it, I was like, wait, no, I want to become someone who knows how to play with Hypnokink. How would I start to learn?
I would say you should definitely learn how to do hypnosis in general. Take a
Okay.
class, learn how to do it, not just a book. Maybe you start reading that you kind of take a training with someone and then learn how to put someone in a trance, what that looks like, so that you're confident that you can do it, because you're responsible for keeping your partner safe and for bringing them in and then bringing them out and making sure they're back. You also want to know how to care for them after you play, because there's a little
Yeah.
bit of aftercare after that. And you want to know also if they have any trauma, who's a good candidate for that, because you might not want to do it with just about anyone. So you have to have a person that has good boundaries and knows themselves well enough to speak up and has kind of a support system around them so that they're stable. If you're the hypnotizer versus hypnotee, you want to know your stuff. You want to know how to do that, how to create the container in the safe way. And you also want to communicate before what exactly you're going to do together
Okay.
and build in safety and consent.
Okay. I rolled my eyes a little because I'm imagining a fantasy of putting my partner into trance, but I don't think it works that way, does it? I need that.
You have to have
Yes.
consent.
Yes.
You have to, even if you're pretending or playing or imagining that you have no consent, that's part of the negotiation that you would have beforehand. You're doing that because you want to make sure you're grounded in a place of reality. Because even in play or kink, there's a level of hypnosis that's naturally happening anyway. It's why people do things they don't want to do sometimes, or they can take a lot more impact, for example.
Yeah.
They're in that state already. It's very heightened. So the more you know, the more you can protect the person that you're with and keep them safe and yourself safe. Keep the boundaries.
Yeah. It's serious.
Yeah, it's
As
serious.
serious.
It's not casual. I would not say go play with anyone. You really want to know who you're getting involved with, just in any type of scene,
Okay. And
hypnosis or not.
do you offer general hypnosis classes, or would you recommend I go somewhere in person or go to someone who specializes in teaching to kickstart my journey?
So I'm starting to get asked more and more to teach that. So you could do a one-on-one with me, or you can go to a school. There's one in LA, the one that I trained at, HMI in the Valley, Tarzana.
Okay.
It's a year-long program. So there's 6 months of education and there's a mentorship.
So there are 6-month classes, and then you learn from someone. How do you level up from that 6-month class?
Yeah, so you can train with hypnosis school or you can do a certification. I think the criteria would be find someone you like their style, they have a good reputation, they have a good program, you have testimonials, someone that recommended it. Just find something that fits for you. You could learn hypnosis in a weekend or you can learn it in a 6-month period. I did that, and then I did a residency and saw clients in the clinic for a year. That's what I did in my training, but not all training is as thorough as that. So ask around. You want to be learning from someone that's been doing it a while, because a lot can come up. You have to be ready to hold space for people in all kinds of ways. And a lot of us have trauma or instability. We want to know how to hold space in the right way, especially when playing with these big emotions and states.
Oh, yeah, because I think that when you're dealing with the subconscious too, I don't know if you're ready for what could come up. I know even my own experiences, some things that I've never really thought mattered, I find out during a session actually mattered a lot to me and hurt a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, you have to be ready for anything. Anything could happen. People can get activated. Things can come up from the past. Tears can happen. A little panic can happen. You want to be able to do aftercare. You want to be able to stop everything and just deal with what's coming up and make sure everyone's okay.
yeah, so this requires a
Mm.
lot of ethical
It's
behavior
a lot
and
of work.
really focusing on your partner or
Absolutely. So,
whoever you're
yeah, it's
working.
not all about I'm going to make them do whatever I want. It's not like that as a person doing it or being the top or guiding. You have to be aware of so many things to hold that space so they can relax into your skills and enjoy and have fun.
So what I'm really learning is just like in dominance and submission that doesn't involve hypnosis, Hypnokink is the
Yes.
same way. And hypnotism in general, it's not just do what I say at all. It's very much how am I holding space for this person and protecting them on their journey into this submissive
Right.
or trance state.
Right. As you were saying that, I'm thinking the way that I do it is going to be different than how my partner does it. She could just walk in the room and everyone goes, and they're in
Yeah.
it. And she's not trained. She's just hypnotic. So she has a lot of power being a dom in a room. And it's just, you have that presence. So everyone has their different kind of their vibes or their way of kind of guiding the scene. So just know that you have a lot of power as a dominant or,
Well, I'll be
whether you're doing
having
hypnosis or not.
yeah. I'll be
It's
having
all
your
hypnosis.
partner on this podcast. And what I'm gonna tell you is, I don't know if she's gonna make me squirm in my seat the way you have. I don't know. You are truly hypnotic yourself in that at points while you're talking, my hair stands on edge and I get excited, and then you do have that well, maybe it's not such a natural ability, but I feel it. I feel the presence, I feel the command, and
Oh, thanks.
it's very captivating.
Thank you. That means a lot. I have my own style. So sometimes I'm like, I want to be more like her, but we have to be like who we are and, authentic to us and just be ourselves.
I will report back on the different feelings because I also think it's interesting to be like, well, I have to tell you, Jordan, during this, I'm like, I've definitely felt some of what I felt on our calls before. And maybe it is because you've hypnotized me before and we've done a session together, which was amazing. But enough about me and my sessions. I want to ask for anyone else who would love to experience the wonderful Jordan Wolan, where can they find you?
So people can find me at my website, which is jordanwolan.com. I'm also on all the social media and I'm local to LA. I do a lot of classes and events here. So if you'd like to meet me in person, that's a great way to get to know me. As I said before, I work online and in person. So wherever you are, we can totally meet up.
Awesome. And as I said, I did a virtual session with you that worked really well. You were the first virtual hypnotherapy session I've done, but it definitely worked just as well as my in-person sessions. It was on a different thing than I'd say I normally work with people on, but I loved it. Highly recommend. And I've even referred clients to Jordan, and that's sort of how we developed a closer relationship too.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today so more people can just even understand hypnotherapy as a modality that could help them ultimately have better sex, among many other things.
Exactly. And I'm just so glad that you got a chance to experience it for yourself because that's half of it right there. It's one thing for me to tell everyone how wonderful it is. It's another thing for you to experience it for yourself and you get what you get from it. And more fun, more ease.
And it does
More
feel
money.
half magic, half inspiration, because you do walk out feeling different or you wake up out of it and just feel like a different energy that I want everyone to experience at least once in their life. Truly, whether it's with you, Jordan, or if they find someone local that they find works for them, I am a firm believer in hypnotherapy. I've talked about it before and I'm so excited. Thank you so much for sharing all of your experiences and stories. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks so much, Amanda, for having me. This has been a real pleasure.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with anyone who might find it interesting. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like me to cover in future episodes, feel free to reach out. Email info@thekinkconsultant.com. Until next time, keep on kinking on.